IVM.
Hi, I'm Utsav, a behavior researcher by training and a slow traveler by passion. Postcards from Nowhere is a travel podcast where I condense a decade of travel experiences and explore not just the where, but also the why and how to travel. My stories emerge from slow traveling the less explored parts of the world: Bosnia and Herzegovina, Armenia, Uzbekistan, and even China. At the end of each story, I give practical tips and new ideas about how to travel better. This week, in the 5th episode of the series, The Great Migration, we delve into the story of an unlikely community, the Malayalis of Pakistan, and the uncertain future they face 75 years after India's independence. In 2018, a song from the film Oru Adaar Love, titled Manikya Malaraya Poovi, went viral, garnering millions of views, even from parts of India that did not understand a word of Malayalam. If you don't remember the song, I am sure you remember the visual of the actress Priya Warrior winking at a schoolboy during a musical performance. The song was actually composed in 1978 and was adapted for the movie in 2018. It compares the beauty of Khadija, the wife of Prophet Muhammad, to a pearl flower during her first interaction with him. In September 1921, Lord Reading, the British Viceroy of India, received from an army general a most urgent telegram. Situation, warned the military man, is now clearly actual war, and famine, widespread devastation, and prolonged rebellion can only be avoided by prompt measures. He was referring to the horrific communal uprising in Malabar, Kerala, so intimidating in its scale and fury that it took 6 months for the authorities to prevail and restore order. In the end, over 2,000 rebels were killed, 6,000 captured, and over 39,000 persuaded to surrender. Much blood had flowed through the paths of northern Kerala, featuring guerrilla warfare, plunder, terrorization. This violence was brought about by a community against the colonial state as well as the local landlords in an outburst of economic and religious hostility. So, what could possibly connect the horrific communal uprising in Malabar to the viral sensation Manikya Malaraya Poovi? The answer lies in the rather small community of Kerala, which happens to be the oldest settled native Muslim community in South Asia, the Mappila Muslims. The 1921 rebellion got etched into Kerala's history as the Mappila Rebellion. The song belongs to the genre known as Malapapattu, a folklore Muslim music tradition which praises the pious personalities of Islam. The 1921 rebellion and the subsequent partition saw a rather unusual migration. Had he been alive today, Thumbil Ahmed would have been 90 years old. When he was in his 20s, he worked in a restaurant in Mumbai on daily wages. In 1953, a travel operator promised to take him to Dubai in a wooden vessel for Rs 50. Ahmed agreed, but was offloaded at Karachi instead. He started working in a restaurant there. Some years later, when he got the news from home that his mother was unwell and he wanted to come and see her, his bosses advised him to apply for a Pakistani passport. Ahmed, who is illiterate, did as he was told. He spent 3 months in India during the first visit and used the same passport to come to Malappuram on 5 other occasions during his 22-year stay in Pakistan. It was during his visits that he married Kuni Mariam and fathered 3 children. His wife and children never went to Pakistan and are Indian citizens. Like him, a sizable number of Muslims moved from Kerala and settled in Karachi. There were certainly some religious reasons for their migration. Post the collapse of the Khilafat movement in the 1930s, the demand for partition gathered steam. The Muslim League promoted the creation of Moplastan as late as 1947. However, the chief reasons for the migration to Karachi continued to be economic, much like how the coastal state has had links with the Arab world for centuries. This gave rise to a Malayali community in Karachi, which at its peak numbered 50,000. They soon settled into traditionally familiar businesses such as timber, textiles, tea shops, and hotels. Yet, they had a very vexed existence. Many acquired Pakistani passports but did not feel welcome in Pakistan as they were treated as muhajirs, or those who crossed into Pakistan from India. Back home, in the district of Mapalapuram, they were not welcome either. Those who somehow managed to make it back to India were dealt with cruelty. This is beautifully portrayed in the 2007 Malayalam film Paradesi. The national award-winning actor Mohanlal essays the role of Musa, a man who finds himself in this exact conundrum. In a scene that brings to life the plight of such a character, an 80-year-old Musa is waiting outside the police station to mark his attendance every month, like a petty criminal. This happens to be the fate of many who have returned, living under the shadow of fear and reporting to police stations every month. In another telling scene, a journalist played by Padma Priya reaches out to a mentally ill Abdul Rahman, played by the late Jagati Srikumar. She is keen to get the story of hapless Pak citizens in India. As she approaches Abdul and assures him that she is there for him, he sardonically remarks, "Are you here to help me, like Jinnah who helped Muslims in 1948? If you somehow magically conjure a Pakistani visa and step foot in Karachi, head to this other area around Wellington Street. Just behind the corner pawn shop, you will find Royalty House, which is run by the Malayalis who still reside there. They are a part of the Malabar Muslim Jamaat, though only 6,000 of them remain today." The presence of the corner pawn shop feels not so coincidental, given the Pakistani love for the betel nut sourced from Tirur in the Mapalapuram district. Until 2016, when the Pakistani government imposed a 140% import duty, the betel nut from Tirur was prized for its quality. Royalty House would come across as any other rundown tiny hotel which dot the streets of South Asia. But a conversation with the staff, as seen on a vlogger's YouTube channel, immediately reveals the Malayali connection. Not just in the language, but in the beloved Pariyappu, or dal, which happens to be the highlight of the hotel. Two old men, Muhammad Ali and Muhammad Moyuddin, converse in fluent Malayalam. One lament remains though, as Muhammad Ali quips, "हम काफी टाइम से इंडिया नहीं गए, पहले जाते थे, हर साल 1.5 साल में जाते थे." In 2019, B.M. Kutti, a staunch communist from Tirur, passed away in Karachi. For 6 decades, he navigated Pakistani politics and was deeply involved in the politics of Balochistan. As the community's most well-known face, his demise dealt a blow to Malayalis, one which it's unlikely to recover from. In 2011, he released his autobiography, 60 Years in Exile, No Regrets. As I look at the story of the Malayalis in Pakistan, I wonder which paths would they choose. Be like B.M. Kutti, remaining in self-exile, or choose to attempt to return to India and continually fight to attain Indian citizenship. Would the self-exile of Kutti be better than the forced exile of the returned migrant? As Salman Rushdie says in the Satanic Verses, exile is a dream of glorious return. Exile is a vision of revolution. It's an endless paradox, looking forward by always looking back. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Utsav Memory on Twitter and YVTravel42 on Instagram.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Storytellers and Storytellers, Vineet talks to filmmaker and production designer Uzair Merchant. He shares how he's created the world's first ever NFT music video. On The Habit Coach, Ashton talks to Joe Town, Hollywood actor and coach of the performer's mindset. They decode various aspects of the high performer mindset and how to deal with mind blanking. On Press Decode, Sara Vagda and Prafulla discuss the controversy around Joe Rogan's Spotify podcast and Netflix India's growing woes. On The Longest Constitution, Priya discusses menstruation, maternity, and disability at the workplace. And on Ikaduka Economy, Abhinav and Dr. Junjunwala discuss the effects of rising inflation. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Also, please do tell a friend. It really does help us when you spread the word about our podcast. And I'd also like to ask you if you could rate or recommend wherever you listen to our podcast. And speaking of where you listen to this show, if you're on an Android phone, do check out our new Android app. We have a brand new app with a brand new listening experience. Definitely check it out. I think you will enjoy it. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Bank of Baroda and CoinSwitch Kuber. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Don't you think that if everyone around you is getting smart, you better be smarter? Hey there, I'm the traveling professor Siddharth Deshmukh and I'm back with season 2 of my podcast to make you smarter. Smarter with Sid. What's this season's focus about? Well, it's about 10-minute nuggets that will make you stand out at work. It's time to go from smart to smarter. Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday and become smarter with Sid.